So today I'm going to highlight pork tail, and I will be making a pork tail and black bean soup, traditionally from China.
So I was able to find all of my ingredients at Hy-Vee. Some of the ingredients I was looking for, I wasn't able to find that were in the recipe, so I replaced them with other ingredients that are similar. So first off here, we have our boneless pork loin top loin chops, which are basically just going to be used as an additional meat for the soup, since the tail doesn't actually have that much meat on it, just make the soup a little bit more hearty. Now, the recipe called for Chinese cooking wine, which I could not find at Hy-Vee, but I looked it up, and white grape juice is an appropriate substitute if you didn't want to use alcohol in your soup. So I thought that that would work plenty fine for this recipe. We also have some ginger root and our black beans, and we have Medjool dates. So here is our pigtail that we will be using for our pigtail soup. The next step is to scald our pigtail to make sure that all of the hairs that are remaining on this tail are scalded, burned away before we start using it in our soup. So I'm just preparing to boil the water right now to do that. While we're waiting for our water to boil, we are going to go ahead and peel this ginger. Our water is boiling with our pigtails. We're going to scald it for 3 minutes just to get all that excess hair off. Now we have our ginger in chunks ready to be sliced. Here is our pigtail. It's just come out from being scalded. I just rinsed it in some cold water to get ready to chop it up here to go in our soup. And meanwhile, I just started to boil 3 quarts of water, just getting it ready so I can do everything else while this water is boiling. And next steps are going to just be chopping up all of our other ingredients. Pigtails are very fatty here, so what we're going to do here is I'm just going to cut all of this up. I'm going to keep the fat separate from the rest, and I'm just going to use the fat to flavor as needed. So we have our tailbone here, so I'm just going to make my cuts right here next to the tailbone to save all of this fat as I'm going along. And then when I get to the tail, I'm just going to cut up the tail into small segments so it can start to flavor the soup. Update on how the breaking down of the tail is going so far. So we see our tailbone here. So as we're going in, remember the tailbone is going to continue down here. So I got some of that meat off of there, and I'm just gonna have to continue to kind of saw away at it to get the meat off of the remainder as I get farther down into the tail. Some parts of the tail here still have the hair on them even after we scalded. So what I decided to do is I'm gonna go ahead and just remove those parts of the skin. So I just made an incision there, and then it's very easy, and I can just pull back and remove the skin like so. Just make sure that we don't have any hair in our soup. So now we have deconstructed our pigtail. So over here we have our waste product here, which is gonna be our bone and our skin, just because we have some excess hair on there. We just don't want that getting into our soup and displeasing our customers. And we also have here just the main tail fat, which I'm gonna cut up and use as the base for the soup. And we have the rest of our tail meat, which is also gonna go in there for some extra flavor. So next up, I'm going to just cut up our loin chops just to get some extra meat in there, since the tail didn't provide all that much. Okay, so we have our tail parts that are gonna go into our soup over here with our ginger. And now we have our loin chops. Those are just gonna be chopped into about like inch by inch squares to go into our soup, so you get a little bit of meatiness in the soup with the tail. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. Here is our loin. It's all cut up, ready to go. The next step is gonna be our dates, which the dates are just gonna go straight in there. So the pits will still be in there, but they'll just be part of the soup. Hopefully they'll degrade a little bit. And when you're eating the soup, you'll just have to go around those pitted dates. Our ingredients are ready to go into our boiling water for our soup. So just to recap really quick, we have our pork loin meat, we have our tail meat, we have some ginger, we have our black beans, and we have our dates. So I will continue with you once I get everything in. The ingredient that we're gonna be adding is 6 dates. They're just gonna go straight in. Here are dates, and here's everything else, all of our other ingredients. And they're gonna go in. There we go. So now all of our ingredients are in here. We are on medium heat, and we're going to boil this for 2 hours and check on it over time. So while we're here, I'm gonna start talking a little bit more about this. It's a traditionally Chinese recipe, and it is from Flow Food Venture. So thank you, Flow Food Venture for the inspiration for this video. So here is another just check-in so we can check on how our pigtail soup is going. So we can see right there, that is its color. It's definitely gotten a more brown black color in the first 30 minutes of cooking from the black beans and the dates. So I'll give you more updates as we continue. We're about 45 minutes into our preparation here. We're just been stirring about every 5 minutes. The broth of our soup is actually starting to decline a little bit as it cooks down. So that's a good sign that we are progressing in our soup. And we've got about 75 minutes left before it should be done. Now our soup is cooked for the full 2 hours. So we have our white grape juice, and you can put this in kind of to taste. But we'll just put a little bit in, and then keep on mixing that around for another few minutes. 1 tablespoon of that white grape juice in here, and we're just gonna go ahead and stir and cook it for another 5 minutes before removing our soup from heat. And then that is our last step to make our pigtail and black bean soup. And I'll show you the finished product when I get it fully done. Here we have our finished product of pork tail and black bean soup. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope you learned something about how to make pork tail and black bean soup. And I'll see you again if I ever make another cooking video.